The sky turned dark as Olivia Martinez's small exploration craft drifted away from the main ship. Something was wrong. The engines had stopped responding, and now she was floating farther into the dark emptiness of space beyond the Kuiper Belt. Control, this is Martinez. My thrusters are dead. I'm drifting off course, she reported, trying to keep the rising panic from her voice. Static answered her. She was too far out now. Olivia checked her oxygen levels. 6 hours remaining. She took a deep breath and focused on the emergency protocols. She had trained for this. The distress beacon was already broadcasting, and the main ship would notice her absence soon enough. 3 hours passed in silence. 3 hours passed in. Olivia alternated between running system diagnostics and conserving energy. The stars looked different from here, colder somehow. Earth was just a distant memory, a tiny blue dot she couldn't even see. A flash of light caught her attention. At first, she thought it was her rescue shuttle, but as it grew closer, she realized it was nothing like any human spacecraft. The vessel was massive, with a strange crystalline structure that seemed to glow from within. It moved with impossible grace for its size. Unknown craft, this is Olivia Martinez of Earth. I require assistance, she broadcast on all frequencies. To her surprise, a response came through almost immediately, not in English or any human language, but somehow translating directly in her mind. Human vessel, we have detected your distress signal. Prepare for retrieval. A beam of blue light surrounded her craft, and Olivia felt a slight pulling sensation as her ship was drawn toward the alien vessel. Her heart raced with equal parts fear and excitement. First contact was happening, and she was at the center of it. Once inside the alien ship, Olivia's craft settled gently in a vast chamber. The atmosphere looked breathable according to her instruments, so she cautiously removed her helmet after sealing her suit. The door to her craft opened, revealing 3 tall, slender beings. Their skin shimmered with a bluish tint, and their 4 eyes blinked in unison as they studied her. I'm Olivia Martinez from Earth. Thank you for saving me, she said, standing as tall as her 5'6" frame would allow. We are Ridari, the central figure replied, the words forming in her mind. Your presence in this sector is unexpected. You are far from your home system. We're exploring, Olivia explained. My ship malfunctioned. The Ridari exchanged glances. Your species travels beyond your system already? You are younger than we thought. They led her through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked. The ship was alive in ways human technology couldn't match. We will return you to your people, one Ridari said, but you must remain cautious. This region is not safe for unescorted vessels. What dangers are out here? Olivia asked. The 3 aliens stopped walking. The Vorkath, the leader said, the mental translation carrying a weight of dread. They are the apex predators of this galaxy. No species stands against them for long. I haven't heard of them, Olivia admitted. You would not have. They rarely venture to developing systems. They prefer to hunt those who might challenge them. In a large chamber, several Ridari were examining her craft with evident curiosity. Your physiology is remarkable, one said after scanning her. You contain metals in your blood yet survive. You breathe caustic oxygen. Your body hosts billions of microorganisms. That's normal for humans, Olivia explained. Perhaps this explains how your kind has survived on such a hostile world, another Ridari commented. Your species is more resilient than your technology suggests. A sudden alarm echoed through the ship. The Ridari stiffened, their skin paling to almost white. What is it? Olivia asked. The Vorkath, the leader whispered in her mind. They have found us. Through a massive viewing portal, Olivia saw a dark ship approaching. Its design was jagged and predatory like nothing she had ever seen. Take the human to safety, the leader ordered. If the Vorkath discover a new species here, they will hunt Earth next. The Ridari ship shuddered as the first blast from the Vorkath vessel hit. Olivia stumbled, grabbing a crystalline wall for support. 2 of the aliens rushed her down a narrow corridor away from the command center. We must get you to an escape pod, one explained. If they capture this ship, you cannot be found. Another explosion rocked the ship harder. Lights flickered, and a section of ceiling collapsed behind them. The impact separated Olivia from her guides. "Hello?" she called out, but only emergency signals answered her. The mental connection to the Ridari had been cut. Olivia looked at her options. The path forward was clear, but going back meant climbing through debris. She had to make a choice quickly. Taking a deep breath, she continued forward, hoping to find either the Ridari or an escape pod on her own. The ship's internal gravity fluctuated as she moved, making each step uncertain. Through viewing ports, she could see the battle outside. The sleek Ridari vessel firing blue beams while the jagged Vorkath ship launched what looked like living projectiles that attached themselves to the hull. A new explosion sent her flying against a wall. As Olivia recovered, she realized she wasn't alone. A large figure had been thrown into the same compartment. It wasn't Ridari. The creature before her stood over 7 feet tall, with scaled skin in patterns of deep red and black. Its powerful limbs ended in clawed hands and a ridge of spines ran down its back. This had to be a Vorkath. The alien predator was injured. A piece of metal had pierced its side and greenish fluid leaked from the wound. Its yellow eyes locked onto Olivia, widening with what seemed like surprise. Rather than attacking, it spoke. The words formed in her mind just as the Ridari communication had, but rougher, more guttural. "What are you?" it demanded. "Human," Olivia answered, keeping her distance from Earth. The Vorkath tried to stand but fell back, clutching its wound. "I have never encountered your kind before." Olivia made a split-second decision that went against everything the Ridari had told her. She removed the small medical kit from her suit pocket. "You're hurt," she said. "I can help." The Vorkath hissed in confusion. Why would prey help a hunter? "I'm not your prey," Olivia replied firmly. "And right now, we're both trapped in a damaged ship." After a moment's hesitation, the Vorkath nodded. Olivia approached cautiously and examined the wound. The metal fragment had gone deep. "This will hurt," she warned before quickly pulling out the shard. The Vorkath roared but didn't strike her. Olivia applied pressure with a bandage from her kit. "I am called Kraz," the alien said, watching her work with fascination. "Why does a soft species like yours venture so far from its world?" "Curiosity," Olivia answered honestly. "We explore to learn." Kraz made a sound that might have been laughter. A dangerous trait in this galaxy. As Olivia finished bandaging the wound, she heard footsteps approaching. A group of Ridari appeared at the doorway, weapons raised. They froze at the sight before them, a human treating a Vorkath warrior. "Step away from the predator," the leader commanded. "He's injured," Olivia explained, standing her ground. "He hasn't tried to hurt me." The Ridari looked at each other in disbelief. "This is impossible. The Vorkath do not show mercy." Kraz struggled to his feet, towering over both Olivia and the Ridari. "This human has helped me. I claim the life debt of my people." The Ridari backed away fearfully. "Do you know what you've done?" one whispered to Olivia. "You've just bound yourself to the deadliest hunter in the galaxy." Before Olivia could respond, another explosion rocked the ship. Emergency lights flashed everywhere. "The ship's core is destabilizing," a Ridari technician announced. "We have..." Only minutes before complete failure. Kraz looked at Olivia. "It seems, human, that our survival now depends on working together." The ship's warning systems blared as Olivia, Kraz, and the Ridari raced through failing corridors. Emergency lights cast everything in an eerie blue glow. "The engine core is overheating," said Nex, the Ridari engineer. "If we don't stabilize it soon, the whole ship will explode." Kraz moved with surprising speed despite his injury. "Your ship's design is flawed, too dependent on balanced energy flow." "We didn't ask for your opinion, Predator," Nex snapped. Olivia stepped between them. "Fighting won't save the ship. What do we need to do?" Nex pointed to a schematic on a wall panel. "The cooling system is damaged. Someone needs to manually vent the excess energy from inside the core chamber." "That's suicide," another Ridari protested. "The radiation levels..." "I will go," Kraz interrupted. All eyes turned to him in surprise. My species can withstand higher radiation than yours, he explained. But I don't know your technology. I will need guidance. The Ridari looked at each other skeptically. Olivia could sense their distrust. I'll help, she offered. I can talk him through it from the control room. Minutes later, Olivia stood at a console while Kraz prepared to enter the core chamber. Through a viewing window, she could see the massive engine glowing dangerously bright. The override sequence is on the far panel, she told him through the comm. You'll need to enter it and then manually turn the release valves. Kraz nodded and entered the chamber. Even with his radiation resistance, Olivia could see him struggling as he approached the core. Why are you doing this? She asked while guiding him. The Ridari are your enemies. The life debt is sacred, Kraz replied, his voice strained. Besides, I too wish to live. As Kraz worked on the valves, Olivia learned more about his people. The Vorkath weren't simply mindless predators as the galaxy believed. They were warriors with a complex honor code and rich traditions. Our homeworld was beautiful once, Kraz explained between labored breaths. Before the mining guilds came, they stripped our resources, poisoned our waters. So you fought back, Olivia realized. We had no choice. But the guilds had powerful allies. They declared us dangerous, painted us as monsters. It became easier to embrace what they claimed we were. The core's light finally dimmed as Kraz completed the override. The ship's alarms fell silent. When he emerged from the chamber, the Ridari kept their distance, but their expressions had changed from fear to confusion. Later, in the ship's medical bay, Olivia helped treat Kraz's radiation burns. The Ridari captain, Sola, approached them cautiously. You saved our ship, she acknowledged. This does not align with what we know of the Vorkath. Perhaps you know very little, Kraz replied. Sola turned to Olivia. And you, human, you showed no fear when facing a predator. Your species is either very brave or very foolish, maybe a bit of both, Olivia admitted with a smile. That evening, representatives from both crews gathered in the ship's conference room. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. This temporary truce cannot last, one Ridari counselor insisted. The Vorkath have hunted our kind for generations. And your kind have spread lies about mine for longer, Kraz countered. Olivia listened to both sides argue about ancient grievances and territorial disputes. She noticed something neither side seemed to recognize. They were talking to each other, not fighting. You realize what's happening here, don't you? She finally interrupted. Representatives of your species are having a conversation instead of a battle. All it took was a ship almost exploding. The room fell silent. The human has a point, Sola admitted reluctantly. This is unprecedented. Kraz looked at Olivia with new respect. Perhaps this is why we never encountered humans before. The Council fears species that might bring change. What council? Olivia asked. Before anyone could answer, the communication system chimed. A message was coming in. From Earth. We've received your distress signal, came a voice. This is Commander Alan Foster of the United Earth Space Agency. We're on our way to retrieve our astronaut. The Ridari and Vorkath exchanged alarmed glances. It seems, Sola said grimly, that the galaxy is about to change forever. The news spread faster than light through the galaxy's communication networks. A human had befriended a Vorkath warrior. Species that had never acknowledged each other were suddenly engaged in heated debates. Was it true? Could the deadliest predators known to galactic civilization be reasoned with? Commander Alan Foster's rescue ship approached the Ridari vessel with caution. His mission had been simple: retrieve astronaut Olivia Martinez. Now, as reports flooded in about her involvement in an unprecedented diplomatic situation, everything had changed. We're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel, his communications officer reported. Put it through, Alan ordered, straightening his uniform. Olivia's face appeared on screen. Commander Foster, this is Martinez. I'm safe, but we have a complex situation here. So I've heard, Alan replied. Half the galaxy is talking about you and your new Friend. Then you know I can't just leave. The Radari and Vorkath are on the edge of actual communication for the first time in centuries. I seem to be the only one they both trust. Alan sighed. This had escalated far beyond a simple rescue mission. The Galactic Council has contacted Earth. They're demanding you appear before them to explain your actions. Olivia looked surprised. The Council is real? I thought Kraz was exaggerating. Very real and apparently very concerned about what you've done. Behind Olivia, Alan could see the imposing figure of Kraz. The Vorkath warrior stood at least 2 feet taller than her, his scaled skin gleaming under the ship's lights. Despite everything he'd been told about the Vorkath, Alan couldn't deny the intelligent awareness in the alien's eyes. We're docking in 20 minutes, Alan informed her. Try not to start any more interstellar incidents before then. The commander had barely stepped aboard the Radari ship when he was met by a delegation of various alien species. Some he recognized. From the briefing files he'd received, others were completely unknown to human knowledge. Commander Foster, a tall, willowy being, introduced itself. I am Delegate Zern of the Galactic Council Observer Corps. We've come to escort all parties to the emergency session. Emergency session? Alan questioned. Zern's expression remained unreadable. The human Martinez has disrupted the balance of power in this sector. Some council members are calling for sanctions against Earth for interfering in galactic affairs. That's ridiculous, Olivia protested as she joined them. Earth didn't even know about the council until now. Ignorance is not recognized as a defense, Zern stated coldly. Kraz stepped forward, causing several delegates to flinch. The human saved my life. By Vorkath law, she is under our protection. The delegates erupted in alarmed whispers. Zern's composure cracked slightly. The Vorkath have no standing in council matters. Perhaps it's time we did, Kraz growled. Alan quickly assessed the situation. Various factions were clearly forming around them. Some seemed curious about humans, others openly hostile. The presence of Kraz was polarizing. Some delegates couldn't even look at the Vorkath warrior without visible fear. Commander, Olivia said quietly, there's more going on here than just species conflict. I've learned things about how the Vorkath were treated. The council isn't as neutral as they claim. Before Alan could respond, another delegate approached, a reptilian being with iridescent feathers. The council chair demands all parties depart immediately for the Nexus station, the delegate announced. This includes the human vessel. Our ship isn't going anywhere without authorization from Earth, Alan insisted. The delegate's eyes narrowed. Then consider this a formal first contact request. Your planet has been noticed, Commander. There is no going back to isolation. As they prepared to depart, Olivia pulled Alan aside. The Radari showed me star charts. There are council observation posts throughout our solar system. They've been watching us for decades. Why reveal themselves now? Alan wondered. Kraz joined them, his massive frame dwarfing the humans. Because you've befriended the enemy. Some on the council would rather destroy your world than risk humans bringing peace. Alan looked between Olivia and the Vorkath warrior. Then I guess we'd better make a compelling case at this hearing. Outside the viewport, more ships were arriving, some sleek and advanced, others bristling with weapons. The galaxy was gathering, and humanity was suddenly at the center of its attention. The Nexus station hung in space like a massive jewel, its crystalline structures reflecting starlight in dazzling patterns. Olivia had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The human ship approached cautiously, escorted by vessels from a dozen different species. This station was built thousands of years ago, Kraz explained as they watched from the observation deck. It predates even the Council itself. How old is the Council? Alan asked. Nearly 15,000 of your Earth years, Sola, the Radari, Captain answered. They claim to maintain peace and balance throughout the galaxy. Kraz made a sound that could only be interpreted as a scoff. Balance that benefits those already in power. As they docked, Olivia noticed strange markings along the station walls. They looked familiar somehow, though she couldn't place why. She took photos with her suit's camera for later analysis. The delegation was led through vast hallways filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. Many stopped to stare at the unusual sight of humans walking freely beside a Vorkath warrior. "These markings," Olivia whispered to Kraz, pointing at the walls. "What do they mean?" "They tell the history of the First Accord," he replied. "When the founding species united against a common threat." "What threat?" "That part of the story has been lost, or deliberately erased." Their guide led them to a small chamber to prepare for the council hearing. As soon as they were alone, Kraz moved to a corner and pressed a hidden panel. A secret compartment opened. "What are you doing?" Alan demanded. "Looking for truth," Kraz answered, pulling out what appeared to be an ancient data storage device. "This station holds secrets. My ancestors fought here, but not as enemies." Olivia examined the device. "You knew this was here?" "How?" "Vorkath oral tradition. Stories passed down through generations, stories the council tried to suppress. We were not always hunters. Once we were protectors." Sola approached cautiously. "Protectors of what?" "The Accord itself," Kraz said, "until the betrayal." They activated the device and holographic images filled the room, documents, treaties, and maps. Olivia recognized star systems, including Earth's. "This is a treaty," Alan said, examining one document. "Between the Vorkath and..." "These symbols match those on the station walls." Kraz nodded grimly. "The founding council species promised my people territory and resources in exchange for our service as frontier guardians. Then they violated the agreement, stripped our homeworld, and labeled us as dangerous predators when we fought back." Olivia found another file, a star map with Earth clearly marked. "Look at this date stamp. They've known about Earth for over 3 centuries. "Not just known," Sola said, looking troubled. "According to this, Earth was designated as a contingency asset." "What does that mean?" Before anyone could answer, the doors slid open. Council guards entered, weapons raised. "The hearing will begin shortly," their leader announced. "The council? Chair requests the device you're accessing." Kraz moved protectively in front of the humans. "This evidence belongs to my people." The standoff was interrupted by the arrival of a new figure. A tall, elegant being with 6 limbs and skin that shifted colors like oil on water. "I am Virix, High Archivist," they introduced themselves. "The device you found is indeed part of our historical record. It should have been secured centuries ago. Or perhaps it was hidden deliberately," Olivia suggested, "by someone who wanted the truth preserved." Virix's skin rippled with colors. "An interesting theory. One the council would prefer not to be discussed publicly." "Too late for that," Alan said. "We've already copied the data." This was a bluff, but the archivist couldn't know that. Virix studied them silently before speaking again. "The council chamber is waiting. You may bring the device for now." As they followed Virix through more elaborate corridors, Olivia noticed something strange about the station's layout. Certain sections seemed newer, as if they had been rebuilt. "There was damage here," she whispered to Kraz. "A battle." The Vorkath warrior nodded solemnly. "The beginning of the end, when my people were betrayed." They entered an enormous circular chamber where hundreds of beings sat in tiered seating. At the center was a raised platform where 7 representatives sat in ornate chairs. "The High Council," Sola whispered. "The most powerful beings in the galaxy." As Olivia stepped forward with her companions, she felt the weight of countless eyes upon her. The fate of Earth might depend on what happened in the next few minutes. The council chamber fell silent as Olivia, Alan, Kraz, and Sola approached the central platform. The 7 high counselors watched them with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. "We recognize the representatives of Earth," announced the central figure, a being with crystalline features that caught the light. "I am High Counselor Drav. This emergency session has been called to address the human interference in galactic affairs." Whispers echoed through the chamber. Many delegates were seeing humans for the first time. "Interference?" Alan questioned. Our astronaut was stranded and rescued. How is that interference? The human Martinez has formed an illegal alliance with a Vorkath warrior, another counselor stated, her voice sharp. This threatens the stability of 3 sectors. Olivia stepped forward. With respect, I helped an injured being. Where I come from, that's basic decency, not a political act. The chamber erupted in a mixture of outrage and support. Drav raised a hand for silence. Human concepts of decency are irrelevant here. The Vorkath are classified as a threat species. Contact with them is restricted. Kraz growled low in his throat. Convenient laws made by those who profit from our isolation. Before the counselors could respond, the chamber's main doors burst open. A delegation of heavily armed beings entered. Tall, muscular aliens with cybernetic enhancements visible along their bodies. The Terex military consortium demands to be heard, their leader announced. The human world must be quarantined immediately. Their unpredictable behavior threatens trade routes. More doors opened as other factions arrived. Some supported Earth, others called for sanctions or worse. The chamber descended into chaos as arguments broke out across the floor. Olivia noticed movement in the upper galleries. Guards were quietly taking positions at all exits. They're planning something, she whispered to Alan. This isn't just a hearing. Alan nodded grimly. I've seen this before in Earth politics. They've already decided the outcome. A new alert sounded throughout the station. On massive screens around the chamber, images appeared showing military vessels moving into formation. Multiple fleets are mobilizing, Sola explained, checking a datapad. Some heading toward the Vorkath territories, others. She hesitated. Others toward Earth, Kraz finished for her. They mean to isolate your world before you can form more alliances. High Counselor Drav raised his voice above the commotion. Order. The Council has determined that temporary quarantine measures are necessary while we evaluate the human situation. Q. Meanwhile, you decide if we're useful or dangerous, Alan challenged. Just like you did with the Vorkath. Virix, the archivist, stepped forward unexpectedly. The Council's records show a concerning pattern of similar interventions with developing species. Perhaps we should review these cases before taking action. Drav's crystalline features hardened. The archivist oversteps their authority. I merely suggest we learn from history, Virix replied calmly. Olivia looked at the ancient device they had discovered. An idea formed in her mind. Dangerous, but possibly their only chance. Kraz, she whispered, can this device connect to the station's communication systems? The Vorkath warrior considered for a moment. Yes, through the archival network, but they would detect any unauthorized access. Not if we had help from an archivist, Olivia suggested, glancing meaningfully at Virix. As the arguments continued across the chamber, Olivia quietly approached Virix. After a brief conversation, the archivist nodded subtly. Meanwhile, Alan addressed the Council directly, keeping their attention. Earth demands the right to establish its own diplomatic relations. We reject any quarantine or restriction on our movements. Bold words from a species with only one starship, a counselor mocked. We may be new to your galaxy, Alan replied, but humanity has survived challenges you can't imagine. We've overcome our own predatory nature. Perhaps that's why we can see the Vorkath differently. While attention focused on Alan, Virix discreetly connected the ancient device to a hidden terminal. Kraz provided access codes known only to Vorkath elders. Suddenly, the chamber's screens changed. The images of advancing fleets were replaced by the ancient treaty documents they had discovered, now broadcasting to every ship and station across the galaxy. What is this? Drav demanded, rising from his seat. The truth, Olivia announced loudly. The original accord between the founding council races and the Vorkath, the agreement you violated leading to centuries of conflict. The chamber exploded into disorder as delegates saw the evidence for themselves. Some races had never known this history. Others had suspected but lacked proof. As chaos spread through the chamber, Olivia received an urgent message from Earth. More human ships had been detected leaving the solar system. ships no one had known existed. The gathering storm was about to break. The council chamber descended into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other while the high councilors tried desperately to regain control. The ancient treaty documents displayed on every screen told a story that contradicted centuries of official history. "This is fabricated evidence," High Councilor Drav declared, but the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. Olivia stepped forward. "These documents carry authentication codes that match the Council's own archives. Isn't that right, Archivist Virix?" All eyes turned to Virix, whose multicolored skin had settled into a deep blue of resolve. "The human speaks truth. I have verified these codes myself." "Traitor," hissed one of the other counselors. Kraz moved to stand beside Olivia. "For generations, my people were painted as mindless killers. We became what you forced us to be. But no more." The chamber doors opened again. A group of humans entered, led by a gray-haired woman with commanding presence. "Dr. Eleanor Wells, Chief Diplomat of Earth," she announced. "I believe we arrived just in time." Alan looked surprised. "Doctor, how did you get here so quickly?" Eleanor smiled slightly. "Let's just say Earth has been preparing for this moment longer than the Council realizes." She turned to address the chamber. "While you've been debating our fate, I've been in communication with representatives from 15 different species who support Earth's right to fair treatment." "This is unprecedented," Drav sputtered. "Developing worlds have no standing to form such alliances." "Perhaps it's time for your rules to evolve," Eleanor replied calmly. A new alert sounded throughout the station. The screen shifted to show several unmarked ships approaching, sleek vessels unlike any design known to the Council. "More human ships?" Sola asked, confused. "No," Eleanor answered. "Those belong to the silent observers. They've monitored Council activities for centuries without revealing themselves." The revelation sent another wave of shock through the chamber. Even the High Councilors looked stunned. "But we have an even more important revelation," Olivia announced. She nodded to Kraz, who activated a different file on the ancient device. Main display showed complex genetic sequences side by side, one labeled Vorkath, the other human. "During my medical treatment of Kraz," Olivia explained, "I discovered something remarkable. Our species share key genetic markers that should be impossible given our separate evolution on planets light-years apart." Scientists among the delegates moved closer to the displays, their professional curiosity overcoming political divisions. "These similarity patterns can't be coincidental," a multi-eyed being in scientific attire declared. "The statistical probability is virtually zero. Both species show evidence of the same ancient genetic modifications," Kraz added. "Modifications that enhanced adaptability, resilience, and cognitive functions." The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. "Are you claiming some connection between humans and Vorkath?" Drav asked, his voice now cautious. "More than a connection," Olivia confirmed. "The evidence suggests we share common ancestors, likely transported to different worlds in the distant past." Eleanor stepped forward. "Our scientists believe this was done by an even older civilization than your council, perhaps to preserve their legacy against some ancient threat." The revelation hit the chamber like a shockwave. If humans and Vorkath were genetically related, the campaigns against the Vorkath took on a much darker significance. "This changes everything," Virix stated, addressing the entire chamber. "By your own laws, related species cannot be separated by council decree. The human world cannot be quarantined without violating our most sacred principles." Several councilors huddled together, whispering urgently. The political landscape had shifted dramatically in just minutes. Drav finally spoke, his voice resigned. "The council will recess to consider this new information." As the councilors departed, delegates from dozens of species approached the humans and Kraz. Some offered support, others sought alliances, and a few simply wanted to witness this historic moment. "You realize what you've done?" Sola asked Olivia quietly. "You've broken the power structure that's governed the galaxy for thousands of years." Olivia watched as Kraz spoke with a group of younger Vorkath who had entered the chamber, the first diplomatic delegation from their world in centuries. "Sometimes things need to break before they can be rebuilt properly," she replied. The ancient device still displayed the genetic sequences that linked humanity to the galaxy's most feared predator species. The evidence was undeniable. Two species from different worlds connected by bonds deeper than anyone could have imagined. As news spread across the galaxy, ships of all kinds changed course, some abandoning military positions, others rushing to witness the unfolding events. The gathering storm was transforming into something unexpected, a new beginning. 6 months had passed since the dramatic events at the Nexus station. Olivia stood at the observation deck of Earth's new embassy, watching ships from dozens of worlds come and go through the nearby portal gate. The massive structure had been a gift from the reformed Galactic Council, a symbol of Earth's new status in interstellar politics. "Still hard to believe, isn't it?" Alan asked, joining her at the viewport. He now served as Earth's military liaison to the Council. "Sometimes," Olivia admitted. "I keep expecting to wake up back in my tiny exploration craft, drifting through space." Instead, she had become the architect of the greatest diplomatic revolution in galactic history. The revelation of the genetic connection between humans and Vorkath had forced a complete restructuring of the Council. Old power blocks had crumbled. New alliances formed daily. "The Vorkath delegation has arrived," Alan informed her. "Kraz is leading them personally." Olivia smiled. He promised he would. They made their way to the grand reception hall, where representatives from 27 species mingled. Many still kept a cautious distance from the Vorkath warriors, centuries of fear not easily overcome. But others approached them with genuine curiosity. Kraz towered over the crowd, his scaled skin gleaming under the lights. When he spotted Olivia, he broke protocol by walking directly to her, ignoring the formal greeting line. "The human who befriended a predator," he rumbled, using the title that had spread throughout the galaxy. "How does it feel to be a living legend? About as comfortable as I imagine you feel being called the reasonable Vorkath," she replied with a laugh. Kraz made the huffing sound she now recognized as his version of laughter. "Fair point." The formal ceremony began as Dr. Eleanor Wells took the central platform. "Today marks the official opening of the Human Vorkath Cultural Exchange Initiative," she announced, a program that would have been unimaginable a year ago. Screens around the hall displayed images from both worlds, Earth's oceans and forests alongside the rugged mountains of the Vorkath homeworld. Both showed signs of recovery. Part of the new agreement included environmental restoration technology for the Vorkath planet and advanced defense systems for Earth. "Our species walked separate paths for thousands of years," Eleanor continued. "Yet when finally reunited, it took only one human and one Vorkath to recognize what we shared." Olivia felt a flush of embarrassment at being the center of attention, but Kraz stood proudly beside her. Later, as the reception continued, Sola approached them. The Ridari captain now served on the Council's newly formed Unity Commission. "First student exchanges have been approved," she informed them. 20 humans will study on Vorkath worlds, and 15 young Vorkath warriors will train on Earth. "Any problems with the arrangements?" Olivia asked. Sola's blue skin rippled with amusement. "Only the usual concerns about human food being too bland and Vorkath living quarters being too warm. Cultural differences are easier to navigate than political ones." Across the galaxy, similar changes were unfolding. Species that had been deemed predatory or dangerous were being reevaluated. Ancient treaties were examined for violations. The balance of power shifted daily. Not everyone welcomed these changes. The Tarex Consortium and several former council powers had withdrawn from shared territories, building up military forces along their borders. But they faced a united front of emerging alliances, with humans often serving as mediators. "The archivist Virix sent a message," Alan told Olivia quietly. "They've uncovered more evidence about our common ancestors. Something about an ancient threat that might one day return." "Always something new to worry about," Olivia sighed. "Or prepare for," Kraz countered. "Our peoples are stronger together than apart." As the evening ended, Olivia found herself once again at the observation deck. Earth glowed blue and green below, beautiful and fragile. A ship departed the station, the first joint human Vorkath exploration vessel, heading toward uncharted space. "What are you thinking?" Kraz asked, joining her. "That sometimes getting lost is the best way to find your path," she replied. "If I hadn't drifted off course that day, the galaxy would still be divided," he finished, "and both our worlds would be poorer for it." Stars streaked past as the exploration ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Somewhere in that vast darkness were answers about their shared past, and perhaps warnings about their future. But whatever came next, humans would no longer face it alone, nor would the Vorkath. The species the galaxy had feared most had found kinship with the species they had underestimated most. Together, they had